Hello everybody, welcome to Awesome Rusty Buckets. Subscribe to the channel if you're not already, and drop a like on this video. I'm trying to hit 100k subscribers on the channel by the end of the year, so your subscription would be much appreciated. Also, drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second. It makes a massive difference in how the video performs in the YouTube algorithm. Today I'm talking about the Memphis Grizzlies Jazz game that happened last night, more focusing on the Jazz. I don't have a lot of takes about the Grizzlies in this one. I really wanted to put a focus on the Jazz because I haven't had a chance to actually look at them. I actually had a chance to talk about them. I know that they've been really successful, but you know, it wasn't my natural instinct to start the season to tune into Jazz games, but at a certain point they started winning enough games that they could not be ignored. So that said, let's talk about the Utah Jazz. So the first player that I have to talk about, Lauri Markkanen. Now, I'm going to do a main channel video somewhat talking about the Utah Jazz tomorrow, so I'm not going to overdo this bit here, but like, dude, where was this when you were in Chicago? Lauri Markkanen has been unbelievable, and he's been scoring the ball without his 3-ball dropping. Now, today he was 4 for 6, or yesterday he was 4 for 6 from outside, but for the most part, it's just been him finally getting over, finishing in the paint, not being scared of contact, and positioning himself in the right place at the right time, hunting mismatches. There's a play right here where they unlock him as a scorer. What I always believe to be the way to get Lauri to be unlocked as a scorer is they hunt him, they hunt for a short player, get that mismatch, and then he shoots over him. That's something that, as a 7-footer who, at least in theory, has a really good jump shot, you would want to see him find some offense that way. Obviously, you want him to not always take a jump shot against a smaller guy, but if there's people in the paint, just shooting over chairs is pretty convenient. Another big thing is that he was blocking shots. And, you know, rim protection and defense overall is the big thing that I would worry about the Jazz instinctually, because I'm not entirely shocked that they're a decent offensive team just with how many weapons they have, but defensively, they've actually been surprisingly not terrible, and part of that is due to the fact that Lauri Markkanen has been a better rim protector than you would typically expect. Some really nice block shots in this one. And then if I can talk about the Utah Jazz just as a whole, frankly, I was surprised to find out that I enjoyed this team as much as I did. In fact, I might watch more Jazz games than I originally intended, so long as this continues, because we'll talk about that in a second. But this is such a fun goddamn basketball team if you are a basketball nerd. I hope hitting the mic stand didn't give some weird feedback there. I'm going to make a comparison here. And before you freak out, I just mean in a very specific way, okay? This team, in some ways, the light just flickered, reminds me of the 2014 Spurs. Bro, I'm trying to record here. 2014 Spurs. Now, hear me out. I don't mean they're as good. I don't mean they're going to go on and win a championship. I don't mean they're an unbelievable passing team. But the way that this team passes the ball, how unselfish everybody is, the light's apparently just going to keep flickering. The way that they are such a cohesive unit. I don't feel, I mentioned Lauri Markkanen obviously, but that's just more so from my personal, like, being a huge Lauri stan for a few years and then giving up on him, and then here he is finally living up to my own expectations, just on another team. In general though, it's just a bunch of really talented offensive players, a lot of play finishers, and a lot of guys making the extra pass. Here is a clip right here where Lauri gets a really nice look at a 3, and he's been on fire, but he decides, you know what, fuck that, I'm going to pass this to Clarkson instead of a contested 3. I'm going to get a wide open one. Then there's this fast break opportunity. Lauri Markkanen throws a great skip pass across the court, which results in a drive off of the dribble from Beasley and an open 3 for Mike Conley. These types of plays happen time and time again. The ball movement for the Utah Jazz is why they are winning games. They have a bunch of shooters, they have a bunch of guys who are finishing in the paint, and they have pretty much everybody just looking to make the pass. And here's why it is Spurs-esque. It's not just like being a really good passing team, because most good passing teams generally have a player or two that specifically elevate that passing. Like, for example, like the Denver Nuggets are a really good passing team, but that's mostly because of Nikola Jokic. Whereas if you look at this, there's definitely, I believe, I would assume Mike Conley is leading this team in assists. I haven't checked that, but that's what I would guess. But it really just seems like everybody is being a playmaker, and that's where I say it's similar to the Spurs, where, you know, there is a pecking order in a sense for sure, but it's not like a crazy hierarchy. Like the first spot in the offense and the 7th spot in the offense is way closer in shot distribution than you would expect of that type of situation. So to that end, everybody's trying to play make. Everybody's looking, they're not looking for their own offense unless it's really there. They get open shots all the time. I think that's the huge thing, is by playing the way that they are, both with the pace and with the playmaking that they are, like, they are consistently generating really, really good shots. Now, when this team was assembled, obviously a lot of people expected them to not be particularly good. And the reason for that wasn't because first of all, the defense was expected to be terrible, which that's the biggest surprise to me more so than the offense. I think I said that already, but although there were a lot of good play finishers on this team, I'm not even saying finisher is a pun for Lowry, but, like, you know, Lowry is a catch and shoot guy who can sometimes finish in the paint. Kelly Olynyk, a kind of similar thing. Jordan Clarkson hasn't seen a shot that he doesn't like. That's really the outlier here. But, like, Malik Beasley's a catch and shoot guy. Mike Conley can do some stuff off of the dribble, but it's not his main thing, you know. And that is they had so many play finishers, and, like, who's going to actually set them up, though, was the thing. Because generally it's star players who generate open looks for those guys who can't really generate open looks for themselves. But in this instance, everybody's generating open looks for everybody, and pretty much everybody is a more impressive playmaker and a ball handler than I expected them to be. So that's great. If I could talk about the Memphis Grizzlies real quick, if there was any play to showcase exactly what this game was like, here is a really, really great pass by Ja Morant, and then his teammate misses it. And then if we fast forward just a little bit here, some good ball movement on the other end leads to the Jazz getting a bucket and Lowry hitting a three-pointer. And overall, three-pointers are a huge part of the Utah Jazz's system because they are currently first in the NBA in three-point attempts, and pretty much everybody on the floor can shoot most of the time unless Jared Vanderbilt or Talen Horton-Tucker are out there. Those guys can't shoot, but otherwise, everybody else in the rotation is a good to great three-point shooter, and having a ton of good to if you have a ton of good to great three-point shooters and you're generating good looks consistently, regardless of how talented the overall offensive players are, if you're getting a ton of open threes with a ton of good shooters, that's going to have good results, and it's going to result in winning. And that's frankly why I believe the Utah Jazz could somewhat sustain this. I don't think that's an unrealistic thing. Not that I'm expecting them to continue to be, I think they're like the 2nd seed right now. But if they were a play-in team, if they were the 8th seed, it really wouldn't surprise me that much after watching this game, because genuinely, it was such a great example of how team basketball, three-point shooting, being at the right place in the right time, being unselfish, all of that can way, way outdo talent. And it's especially funny to compare them to other teams like the Sixers, who are 500, the Nets, who are bad, the Warriors, who have been disappointing. Who else? There's another team that I'm missing. The Clippers. You know, those teams that are objectively more talented than this Utah Jazz team, struggling because they don't have the team mindset that this team does. And you got to give a ton of credit to their head coach as well, who I believe is a first-year head coach, just absolutely killing the game. If a couple of last things I just want to throw in there that didn't really fit within the flow of my commentary. I just wrote, "Oh, come on, man," at this clip because Lowry just hit a putback jump shot. I also put, "This crowd hates Dylan Brooks." They definitely did. And like I said earlier, just to say how that play summarized the game, I believe Ja had 37. Everybody else sucked except for Tyus Jones. And I love Tyus Jones. I'm like the 2nd biggest fan of him after my editor Rudy, but if he's gonna be the second best performer and it's not even close, that's probably going to be a problem. And also I wanted to highlight this mid-range shot by Ja, because if he starts hitting shots like this regularly, which it seems like he has early on in the season, that's really going to unlock him to reach his fullest potential. This is a really nice move. Anyways, really happy with the... I was surprised at how much I enjoyed the Utah Jazz. But yeah, that is it. Goodbye.